Alright, so I'm probably going to title this video something on the lines of we lost our individuality for individualism, meaning I don't feel like there's much that separates people apart from each other, but people are more obsessed with their self more than ever before, including myself. I throw myself in there, and I know that's a blanket statement, and I can't just say that about everybody. There are people that care about others, there's people that are uniquely their self and still care about others, and then there's people that are uniquely their self and are selfish assholes, and full of their self and only care about their self, and I hate, them as equal as the next guy I hate. But whatever, my point is that, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me feeling this way. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I've lost my individuality. I would like to think, I like to think that I'm a little different, and I think a little different. But I feel like most people probably think they're a little different, and they think a little different. But the more I think about it, there's not much that sets me aside from like everybody else. I do probably like the same shit that a lot of people do. I watch YouTube and videos and Netflix and stuff like that. And even if I'm trying to better myself, how many people are trying to better themselves because of the zeitgeist? Like, oh my God, I was almost red-pilled because I was feeling down about myself. I was, watching social media and all this stuff got me feeling like I was less than. And I felt like in order to be a better person, I had to, be healthy and do these things. And like, I almost swallowed that. Now, it's not a bad thing to be healthy and work out and stuff like that. But you don't have to do that. And I even got into like, to be a good person. And I even got into like trying to tell people to do, to be happy and, to appreciate life. And I always said it like, I'm not trying to preach at people, but still, like, who the hell am I to say that? Especially if I'm not doing it really, like, I have tried to better my life. I have done little small things, but I take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back sometimes. And I don't want to do that anymore. I mean, I like talking about things, life, lessons, learning, whatever. But recently I've been feeling like, what separates me apart from anybody else trying to do that on YouTube or wherever? Because, that was a big, unique thing to do for a while. I mean, at least I never got into like, falsely making myself out to be like this healthy whatever person, like the damn Liver King or whatever. But I just, my point is, it's like, when it comes down to like how I live, how I just go to work and do the same thing every day, and I listen to the same thing and my algorithm is always the same, and it's always the same type of videos being, pushed to me, and partially that's my fault, and I got to take responsibility for that. But also, I would like to see smaller creators and stuff like that in that same category. I hate seeing the same 10 people all the time. The same 10 famous people all the time on my algorithm. I'm getting sick of it, and it's like, I feel like it's making everybody the same, even if people are selfish, even if people are stuck up or whatever, or just like they only care about their self or whatever in any type of way. It's like we're all pretty much being like programmed by these damn algorithms, whether it's one social media or a streaming network or whatever. And I just started thinking, like, what the hell separates me from the next Joe Schmo that's fucking watching all the same content being recommended, the same stuff, same type of stuff all all the time, and it really doesn't better my life. It's really just drama stuff. It's really just talking crap about somebody else or some other streamer or whatever, and it's like, I hate it, but there I am day after day listening to this shit, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I want to be different. I want to have individuality. I don't want to have individualism. I don't want to be selfish, and I don't want to only think about myself, but I want to be different. I want to stick out from the crowd. I always thought I was a little different, you know? I always thought I was a little special, unique. But I also don't want to have some type of, you know, God complex or, you know, important complex, or like I was put on this earth to save everyone. I mean, I thought I was here to kind of help people with some of the stuff I've been through, and I guess I could still do that without like trying to be somebody I'm not, I guess. I don't want to sound preachy, and I feel like it's kind of cringe to do that, especially if you're not doing it like yourself all the time. And a lot of times I take 3 steps forward and 2 steps, or, you know, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of thing. But I never got into like pretending I'm something I'm not. And then there's like these masculine influencers, you know, with the beard oil and all this stuff, and it's like a false representation of masculinity and all that stuff. And I feel like the past 5 years we kind of went through all that, and all that like fitness and health influencers and all that stuff, and we're kind of coming out of that, and it's like cringe to do that now. But I feel like it took over everybody's mind, maybe because of, you know, what we went through. But everybody wanted to be healthier or whatever, but including myself. But I feel like I almost fell into a trap. I almost swallowed the red pill. I thought I had to be like them to be a good person, you know, and you know, who knows what's real and what's not? Who knows what they show the world and what they don't? And you know, talking about myself, I know I don't show the world everything, and I don't want to show the world everything. I try to be as real as I could be, but let's be honest, y'all don't want to know everything about me. I can't, you know, I could come on here and tell you about my whole life, but who the hell cares, you know? Some stuff is not meant for everybody. Some stuff is meant for you. But here I go again, like preaching again. But the main point of what I'm saying is, like, I want people to care about each other, and I don't want people to be selfish, and I want people to be uniquely themselves, and I don't want to like tell them they have to be. But I guess, like, since I could see it in myself, and I thought I was kind of different, you know, in everything, and it turns out like I'm starting to think like, no, you're not that special, you're not that unique, and you could be unique, you could be special, you could do different things, but only if I want to. It doesn't, like, I don't want to do these things because I feel like I have to, because of what's in the zeitgeist, and I feel like that's what most people do. I just feel like that's what most people do. You know, people get a Stanley, if Stanley Cups are in, everybody wants a Stanley Cup, you know, or whatever, dude. You probably know what I'm talking about, but I just, I guess it makes me sick, and I'm kind of sick of myself, like, and I wish I was more uniquely me. I wish I invested more into, like, growing the person I am in ways that actually fulfill my life. Not just ways that, like, social media wants me to believe are important, you know, like money and status and politics and all this shit. It's like that, no. You know, I almost fell for that, and I'm glad I didn't. It would have been a miserable freaking life. But I also don't want to throw a blanket statement over everything and say, oh, this is just the way it is. Everybody's selfish. There's no more unique stuff out there. Because especially on an app like YouTube, you could find anything. And there's a bunch of like individuality on that app. You know, I don't know so much about like the streaming networks, but even those, I found myself watching the same, you know, shows all the time instead of trying stuff new. And I think the older you get, the less open you are to trying stuff new, and you kind of get caught up in this same cycle. And I'm terrified of getting caught up in this, in that. I want to always, like, I want to settle down one day and be like, okay, you know, with how I live my life, but I don't want to be just watching Netflix and the same freaking drama stuff about people that, you know, like, in some cases, it's people that I like, so that's okay. But in a lot of cases, it's like, I don't even know these people. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It has no effect on my life whatsoever. And why do I care? You know, why do I give a damn? And it's like, it's just a waste of freaking time. I'm not learning anything. I'm not growing as a person, you know. But I'll give you a situation, since everybody's talking about it, and I wanted to bring this up, but then I didn't want to bring it up because it's more of like, oh, it's more of the same shit. It's more of everybody doing the same shit. And it's the whole Steve will do it. I know I'm a week late, and that's how fast, like, you know, shit gets old. But like, Logan had him on Impaulsive, and there was a bunch of drama. I'm not going to go into all that shit, but you guys probably seen it by now. I'm a little biased because I love Steve. I'm glad he's back on YouTube. I think he's a good person. He has some dark humor, but I've always wanted the best for Steve. You know, I'm sure he might drink too much or gamble too much, and it's sad that, you know, I don't like gambling too much, and it's sad that, you know, he promotes gambling and all that, but it is what it is, I guess, when it comes to that. I just think he was kind of right in the way he was feeling about how Logan was, you know, pressing him about his money and stuff like that, and he's entitled to his opinion. If he don't like MrBeast and he thinks he's only doing that to make money, which is something MrBeast has like admitted, and he's been open and honest with what he does, his strategy since day one. So, you know, you really can't hate on the guy. He's been open and honest, and people had the chance to either love him or hate him, and the world chose to love him. So I don't see no evidence that he's necessarily a bad guy, but he's openly admitted to his strategy, and that's where I'm going to leave it. And I'm glad that the good things he does is still getting done, because they wouldn't be getting done. So I'm going to leave it at that. As far as Steve will do it, he's entitled to his opinion, and they should have left it alone. But, you know, Logan is partners with MrBeast, and one day, maybe he'll change his mind. I think one day they'll be, you know, 30 years from now, they'll probably be running for the presidency against each other or something like that. I see that in their future. I just see it, you know? Or like, who knows? One might be president and then the next, or whatever. But I see like a battle between like those two for some reason, you know, one day for the presidency of the United States. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off my rocker. I don't freaking know. That's just something I thought about. And maybe Logan will change his mind then. But, whatever. It's like, you know, I like Steve will do it. Logan, I kind of go back and forth with. MrBeast, it's either way. You know, I don't see no evidence of him being a bad person, and he seems to help people. You know, even if it's all to grow his business and to make him more money. At least he's still helping people, and that's my final take on all of them. But there's another part of me that's like, why do you give a damn? You're just being like everybody else. You're being like everybody else, caught up in this shit. And part of me didn't want to mention it, but I feel like I had to mention it because it's an example, and I wanted to bring it up. But that's all I got to say. Let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.